Hi, my name is Michelle Medved, and this is my student example for my lesson. Uh, my lesson is about nationalism and national identity. It would be in a junior world history class. First, I would have them explain what they think their national identity is. I just wrote a little bit about what I would put if I were a student. I identify as American. I was born and raised here, and so were my parents. But I also feel that culturally, my identity does have some connections to where my ancestors are from. Um, and I'm mainly Croatian and Italian American. We do certain uh, customs at holidays. We eat certain foods, and all of these things have been handed down from my relatives who actually did live in other countries. So for that reason, I do feel a connection to them, and I feel that it is part of my identity. And then I wanted the students to include a specific thing about their identity. So mine is Popatitsa. It's a European, Eastern European dessert bread eaten around the holidays. It can either be made with walnuts or different kinds of fruit as the filling. It's really good, and it's just something that uh, it's been eaten in my family for generations. So it's kind of one of those cool little connections I have to my relatives. And then I wanted the students to define nationalism. That's one of the main concepts of this lesson. I just said it was a powerful force that can create and ruin countries. The main concept for the unit is about a series of revolutions that happened throughout the 1800s, partially because of this new idea of nationalism and national identity. So this lesson is just setting the groundwork for some of that. And then the two examples we learned about in today's lesson were Japan, Meiji Restoration Japan, and then Germany when it was a brand new nation. Both of these happened in the late to mid 1800s to early 1900s, right before World War I. And so we're going to compare and contrast them, and that's also part of the PowerPoint. And then I just said that nationalism helps these nations become modern nation states, which is true. It helped unite people, and it helped build entire nations around this idea of national pride and national identity. First, I had the students also do a summary of a little bit of the historical context of both Japan and Germany. I just explained how the goals of the Meiji Restoration, which were to modernize Japan, and they felt threatened by European powers in the United States, and they really just wanted to keep traditional Japanese values but modernize and militarize themselves so that if they did have to fight one of these powers, they could hold their own, if not even improve themselves. They did this through all sorts of things, including student drills, teaching young women first aid in case of a war, textbooks, all sorts of things. They also, like I said, wanted to return to traditional beliefs. So Confucian teachings became standard in textbooks, and so did the traditional Japanese Shinto religion, its beliefs. And then Germany is a bit different. It wasn't a united country to begin with. It was several different little principalities, and they all had separate dialects. And so every single effort that was made to unite these usually failed because everyone was a little different and everyone had different beliefs, and they never felt that whole. And then finally, in 1871, the German Empire became successful because one of the dominant territories, Prussia, really kind of took over, and their culture and their language and customs really began to dominate the area and became known as German nationalism. And it's partially what we still think of as German customs and culture today. Very conservative, very strict, very Protestant. They even dabbled in social Darwinism and the concept of German racial superiority, which I know a couple decades from then will sound very familiar when the Nazis come around. And then this is my little illustration. I chose it because the different sections of Germany are well highlighted here, and most of them really, the borders aren't that different from what it used to be when the country was originally founded. And then I had the students include their main similarities and their main differences so they could compare and contrast. The main idea is both nations had very conservative new federal governments. The concept of a federal government, like an overarching one, was relatively new. They were both very controlling and very anti-socialist. They felt in order for the country to succeed and be powerful, the government had to be powerful. And then again, there's this emphasis on becoming a great power, becoming a world power, so that they can fight off any threats. It gave the people like a common goal to be militarily strong, to be modern, to be economically successful, so that they could survive in this new industrialized world. And then the main differences, Germany again became dominated by the culture of Prussia, but it had many different people. Japan was somewhat dominantly homogeneous. There were a few ethnic groups like Koreans that lived in Japan, but they already kind of had a similar people and culture. Germany was more working on it. And then Germany focused on these newer ideas such as social Darwinism and racial superiority and some romanticism of these romantic grand ideas of Germany. And then Japan instead returned to these traditional beliefs, and they were fighting to keep Japanese beliefs Japanese, and they did not want any European influence in their education and what they were teaching. So they stuck with Confucianism and Shinto beliefs. And then Germany forced Catholics to assimilate to Protestantism, part of, again, unifying the country in a very controlling manner, but again, unifying the country. And then Japan didn't care so much about religion. They've never been a strongly religious country. It was more abolishing old practices like feudalism and samurais, and instead focusing on becoming modern. And then this is my credit slide. I just did a little link from where I got the Popotitsa picture, as well as a couple websites for more information about Japan and Germany.